Alright, we're taking notes today for page 10 and 11 in your textbook. It's chapter 1, section 2, part 1, and it's called Points, Lines, and Planes. Points, lines, and planes. So the first thing is a point. What is a point? A point is a location. It's just a location, and it's always a capital letter. So a point is just a point, and it's always a capital letter. It could be A, it might be point P, it might be point F, but it's always a capital letter. The next thing is a line. A line is a straight path. It's two opposite directions without W/O, without end. So a line is going to have an arrow on both ends, and you can give it whatever points you want. It just have to be capital letters. So I'll say A and point B. So to write this, what do we call this? Well, this can be called line AB with the arrows over it, or BA, or it's also whatever line it is. So say it's you want to give it a letter. It's just a lowercase letter, so I'm going to say that this is line M. So this could be line M, line AB, or line BA. It doesn't matter which order you write your letters, but you have to use the symbol with the arrows over it. Okay, the next thing we learned about is a segment. A segment is just part of a line. And it has two endpoints. So a segment is going to be a line. It has two endpoints, so they have to be capital letters. So AB, whatever. So to write that with a symbol, it's just a straight line with AB, or it could be BA. That's how you write a segment. That's how you call it. Then the next thing we learned about is called array. An array has one endpoint, and it goes in one direction. So it could have many points on it, but it definitely has one endpoint, and that's where it starts. And then it just goes and goes and goes. So it could have a point there, it could have a point there, it could have many points. But this is definitely the endpoint. We can say that's a point, we can say that's a point, it doesn't matter. So you could call this AB, or you could even call this AC, but you always start with the endpoint, which is A. That's the beginning of that ray. Goes in one direction. It's supposed to not have an S. Okay, opposite rays. Opposite rays. Opposite rays are two rays that share the same endpoint and form a line. So two rays that form a line. So basically it looks like a line, but it's going to have maybe 3 points, B, C. So in this case, this would be called ray BA, or it could be called ray BC. So it's two rays, one's going to the left, one's going to the right, that share the same endpoint, which is B, and form a line. Well, that's definitely a line because it's going in both directions. Okay, a plane. We haven't learned that yet on the IXL, but here it is. It's just a flat surface that contains lines and points. So a plane is normally in the shape of a parallelogram, and it might have point A and point B, might have point C, and then you just might call it plane P. That's just what its name is. It's either plane P, or you could say that is plane ABC, CBA, doesn't matter. Alright, collinear points. Collinear points are points that lie on the same line. So collinear points are point A, point B, point C are all collinear. Point D that's over here by itself, that is not collinear. It's not on the same line. It has to be on the same line. Not. But coplanar, that's different. Coplanar are points and lines and lines that lie in the same plane. So when you have a plane, it's just anything that's inside this plane. So you might have a line, you might have a point, A, call this F, G. Those are all coplanar. And then the vertex. The vertex is the point where two sides meet. So like we were doing on IXL, that right there is a vertex. And so whatever point it is. Alright, so now we're going to fill in this example here. So let's see. This is called a plane, and we're going to call it plane P. So there's a little capital P right there. So this is called plane P. But you could also call it a few other things. So let's see what else we could call it. I'm going to put this point right here. That's called point V. Point V. On this line right here, I'm going to put a point which is R. At the intersection, that's the intersection, I'm going to call that point Q. And I'm going to write over here, intersection. That's right there. This is point S. This, remember, a line can also just be given a name, so I'm going to call it line L. When you give it just a name, then it's lowercase for the lines. For a plane, it's uppercase. So this is plane P, but this is line L. That's one way to name it. All right, what else do we have? So on the interior, remember the interior is inside of something. So this is the interior, and this is the exterior. Exterior is on the outside. So on the outside, we have point N. And then we also have point T. And on this line, I'm going to call it line M. Alright, so I have all my points. So what are two other ways to name QT? So here's QT. You have line QT. What's some other ways that we can name QT? Well, we can also name it TQ. And then you can also just name it line M. It can be called line M. Line M. That means all the same thing. And then plane P, which is this whole big parallelogram with the lines on the inside and the points on the inside, what's another way we can name it? Well, you can name it RQV. So it can be called plane RQV. Or you could also call it RSV. So when you're naming a plane, you can name 2 points on a line and then another point that's inside the plane, but we would not call it plane N or plane T because they are not inside of this plane. And then let's see what else. What can we name? Collinear points. What are some collinear? So points that lie, oops, I spelled that wrong. Points that lie on the same line. So what are some collinear? So R, Q, and S, R, Q, S are collinear. And then what are 4 coplanar points? So these are three collinear points. And then 4 coplanar points. 4 coplanar points. What are the points that are inside this plane? Well, we have a R, we have a Q, we have a S, and we have a V. So R, Q, S, V. Those are all in the plane, and the lines are just R, Q, and S. T and N, that's just something else that we're not learning right now. And that's it. Please make sure that you've taken all these notes. I'll zoom out, so if you need to look at it for a moment, you can copy everything. Maybe you can't see that too well. There you go. It's a little bit better, I guess. Try to get all that written. And so now you're ready to go on into Chapter 1 and go to page 13 or page 12 and 13 and attempt to do all of the odd. So page 12 and 13, do 1 through 24 odd.